Chapter 3600. Back then, if this old man was willing to announce in the 3 states that he wanted to take in a personal disciple, who knew how many people would break their heads and cry, begging to hug his thigh. He didn't expect to meet this little girl today, but he was defeated again and again. Could it be that this old man had to cry and beg her to accept his big gift? The old man's expression became slightly serious, and he coughed. "You're a child of Mu Tsong's bloodline." He didn't expect Mu Tsong, that serious child, to be able to teach such a cunning fox and fiery little girl. It was a bit rare. "My name is Abba." Abba coldly interrupted the old man and said indifferently, "What?" The old man was just a wisp of soul, so of course, he couldn't understand so many things. When he heard Lord Jojo's surname, he was stunned and couldn't help but ask, "You're not a child of my Mu family?" "Impossible." He immediately denied it himself. "This old man can feel the pure power of the Mu family's bloodline in you. You must be from the direct line of Mu Tsong's bloodline. And this child's bloodline power was mixed with a strong water spirit power. She must be... You should be the little girl born from the marriage between my family and the Long family. Your mother should be from the Sea Dragon clan of Forgetfulness River. How can your surname be Chow? You're a child of my Mu family." The old man rolled his eyes in annoyance and interrupted Abba's words. He continued to talk to himself. "I don't care, you're a child of my Mu family. Your great-grandfather's good grandchild, don't try to deny it. It's no use even if you don't admit it. We have the bloodline talisman, we can make you show your true form in minutes." Abba rolled her eyes. Show her true form? Did he think she was a snake demon? Chow Mu grumpily threw the old man a cold glance before squatting down and using her hand to touch the small stream in front of her. TSK, the water was cool and clear. It really felt like a real stream and not a scene created by spirit power. "Child." The old man simply pulled out a small stool from his inner world and sat beside Abba. He said earnestly, "Let me tell you, I don't have any requirements for you. I don't want you to do anything or do anything. These, and those, the things in Chaoyong restaurant, I'll give them all to you." In the past, great-grandfather excavated many grotto heavens and immortal abodes in the 3 prefectures. They were treasured lands of the divine realm. As long as you get close to that area, the bracelet will sense it and lead you to it. Gold, silver, and treasures are nothing. Talismans and medicinal pills are just appetizers. The most important thing is that my great-grandfather had once excavated a holy stone vein. The old man said complacently and happily, "But you don't have to worry. I've sealed the holy vein with 18 layers of talisman formations. Ha 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 ha. Apart from the 2 of us, no one else can enter." Abba glanced at him. "You're so rich, and you've excavated so many things. You even have the existence of a holy vein. Why don't you use it to support your family?" The old man blew his beard and glared. This bunch of unworthy bastards, they only know how to think about this old man's ancestral property. They don't work hard and don't learn well. They only want to live off their elders. "No, no, no. Your great-grandfather's good grandchild. I'll leave all my things to you. I won't give them a single cent." The old man waved his hand and chuckled as he dragged the stool to Abba's side. Chapter 3601. Good grandson, you can tell great-grandpa about your grandmaster-grandmother now, right? Back then, I had a long talk with this elderly lady for 3 days and nights. We discussed the sword, the Tao, and the great Tao of cultivation. That old woman was actually very perceptive. She was just hilarious and refused to return to the divine province no matter what. As he spoke, the old man sighed with a distressed expression. "That's right. How is that old woman now?" Abba turned his small face and gazed deeply at him. Many years ago, the 6 prefectures led people to encircle and annihilate the Holy Water sect. My grandmaster self-detonated and her soul scattered in order to protect the many senior sisters as they evacuated. The old man started wailing. Although Abba really wanted to mock this old man, he couldn't laugh in the end. He only said aloofly, "I've already avenged the 6 prefectures. None of the people who encircled and annihilated my holy water sect had a good ending. They didn't even have the chance to have their souls scattered." Abba said coldly, "Because I want to restrain their living souls and make them slaves and servants for generations to come. I want them to go through water and tread on fire for my holy water sect's future. I want them to live a life worse than death." Even the old man couldn't help but cast a sidelong glance at his cold tone. Even his soul body felt a sudden chill. In reality, there were many people like Lu Yizhi who had been forcefully refined into a golem. A portion of them had been left by Emolien's side, while the other portion had been left inside the holy water sect at Rosy Cloud's peak. "Good grandson, did you want to mock your great-grandpa just now?" Abba silently glanced at him. The old man heaved a long sigh. "Back then, your grandmaster insisted on staying in the lower star domain and took in so many female disciples from impoverished families. She devoted her entire mind and body to establishing the holy water sect. I want her to travel with me, but that's only if she's willing, right?" Abba cast him a disdainful glance. "Did you mention it?" The old man sat there motionlessly as if he had been struck by lightning. "You didn't even ask. How would you know what she was thinking?" Jojo continued to mercilessly stab the old man in the heart. "But what's the point of saying all this now? The past is the past. You can't go back," Abba said coldly. In fact, she despised those indecisive people the most. They would just say whatever they wanted to say. Wasn't it annoying to be hesitant and nervous? You said that if you were rejected, you would only be hurt once. You should make a decision. If you don't say anything, who knows what you're thinking? If Jojo's lotus was also this meek and weak, even after 10,000 years, Lord Jojo wouldn't take a liking to him. Lord Chow Chow had clearly forgotten that when the two of them first met, His Highness the Crown Prince was able to completely read her thoughts. There was no barrier in their communication at all. His granddaughter's way of stabbing him was too unkind. However, the old man had nothing to say in his grief. The old man seemed to have suddenly stopped his chatterbox heart. He sat beside her in a daze and stared blankly at the stream. "Good grandson, do you have wine? You're just a spirit body. You can't drink wine." Abba expressionlessly struck a blow. The old man instantly revealed a bitter expression. "Can't I smell the wine?" Abba casually waved her hand, and a pot of chrysanthemum wine appeared in her hand. Chapter 3602. Casually placing the wine jug on the ground, Abba stood up. "I've been here long enough. Can I go out now?" The old man picked up the wine jug and kept sniffing the chrysanthemum brew with his nose. He was originally intoxicated, but when he heard the little fellow's words, the corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. "How long have you been here? How long has it been? Do you know how long it took for those people to come in before they could reach the floor you're on?" Abba blinked. "Pick out the location of your talisman and break it. Won't you be able to go upstairs? Do you think everyone is like you, a little pervert who can use talisman energy to sense the location of my talisman?" The old man blew his beard and glared. "This old man set up this Chaoyang restaurant to test my Mu family's descendants. Who knew that they're all disappointing? Everyone just wants to get some benefits. None of them can catch this old man's eye." Abba glanced at him expressionlessly. "My big brother isn't that kind of person. Don't make him sound like those hedonistic sons of the Mu family." "Who's your big brother?" "My big brother, Mu Xingchen." "Oh." Apparently, the old man had some impression of Mu Xingchen. "It's that kid who reached the 58th floor. He's not bad, but his talent isn't as good as yours." Sir Jojo glanced at the old man. "How many people do you think have talent like mine in this world?" The old man was stunned. He obviously didn't expect the little girl to say such conceited words. You don't know what modesty is?" the old man asked speechlessly. "This girl can't be praised too much. Just like this, she wants to go to heaven. Being overly modest is just being hypocritical." Arber glanced at him and kicked the stool under his butt. "I'm going to continue now. Do you want to follow me?" Although the old man said that Chaoyang restaurant was given to her, she decided to continue to show the Mu family her strength. She wanted her name Arber to be passed down on the stone tablet for tens of thousands of generations, crushing everyone in the Mu family. "Of course I want to." The old man quickly jumped up and followed her all the way to the track. "I'm telling you, this Chaoyang restaurant is now yours. If you do it yourself, you'll be destroying your own things. It's fine if you can jump out of the talisman, but don't destroy it. It wasn't easy for me to make these core array talismans to maintain the hundreds of arrays inside and outside the Morning Sun Inn. If you want to destroy everything, I won't let you off," the old man muttered as he followed Lady Chow Chow toward the barrier. After breaking through the barrier of the 58th level, the scenery before him changed abruptly. At this moment, Mu Tsong, Mu Jingfeng, and the others, who were burning with anxiety, suddenly discovered that the horizontal line flickering with red light on the stone tablet had begun to move again after waiting for about an hour. "Let's go! Miss Jojo is starting again. Heavens, it's only been a short while, and she's already broken through the 58th level. Is this person still human?" Mu Ro Yen struggled to get up and slapped the stone tablet as she shouted sternly, Father, aren't you going to think of a way to open the door to Chaoyang restaurant? Arber is chasing after Patriarch Chaoyang inside." Everyone looked at each other in dismay and stared at the second young miss with an extremely strange gaze. Did second young miss injure her head in Chaoyang restaurant? Chapter 3603. Even if there was only a wisp of the Patriarch's soul inside, with Miss Jojo's skinny arms and legs, how could she chase after the Patriarch? Seeing that everyone was looking at her like that, Mu Ro Yen hurriedly pulled Mu Ro Yun aside. "Sister, tell us. Tell us. You saw it with your own eyes, right? That Arber must have really gone crazy. He caused a ruckus in Chaoyang restaurant and even chased after the Patriarch all the way. Although we were a few floors below, we could still hear it clearly. At that time, Arber chased after the Patriarch and threw explosion talismans at him, and the Patriarch was still screaming." Everyone looked at each other as if they were in a fantasy. They looked at each other silently and saw a hint of disbelief in each other's eyes. What kind of joke was this? He chased after the Patriarch and threw explosion talismans at him, beating him until he screamed? Why did it feel like child's play? Mu Royun's little face was cold as she stomped her feet. "I don't know the details, but Arber must have hit our Patriarch Chaoyang." Mu Jingfeng glanced at his father and coughed. "Father, look, this? What should we do?" The corner of Mu Tsong's eyes twitched, and he instantly felt a little tired. Raising his hand to push his forehead, Mu Tsong said in a low voice, "Come, all the elders gather together. Let's see if we can open Chaoyang restaurant's main door a little. Jingfeng and I will go in to take a look." "Yes." All the elders of the Mu family responded in unison. "Father, I'll go in with you." Mu Jingrue interjected worriedly. Mu Tsong turned back to look at his youngest son and nodded with a smile. "That's good. Then, everyone, come. Work together to open a crack in Chaoyang restaurant. Jingfeng, Jingrue, and I will go in to see what's going on." "Yes." All the elders instantly came forward and formed a large circle. One by one, they reached out and placed their hands on each other's backs. At the same time, they gathered their accumulated spiritual energy on Old Master Mu, who was standing at the front. Old Master Mu pushed out a palm and imprinted it on the empty space in front of him. A ripple appeared in front of him, and a translucent barrier appeared in the middle. The old man and the others worked together to tear a small gap in the barrier. In the blink of an eye, Mu Tsong called out to his two sons and flashed into the crack at the same time, stepping into Chaoyang restaurant's territory. Mu Tsong had just said, "Mu clan disciple Mu Tsong greets old ancestor Chaoyang." Just then, he heard a delicate reprimand coming from the wind. "You old man, didn't you say that you would give them all to me? How can you let people in so casually?" "My good grandson, How would I know that someone would suddenly barge in? You call the shots here, you call the shots. If you don't want to see them, just kick them out. Nonsense. I'm so far away from them. How am I supposed to kick them? Sir Jojo yelled unhappily. My dear grandson, all you have to do is to recite the name of one of them and kick them. Mu Jingfeng instantly had a bad premonition. Before he could make a sound, he heard a rustling sound in front of him. Before he could take a defensive posture, he felt a pain in his chest. It really felt like he had been kicked heavily, and he was sent flying by a huge force. At this moment, a group of elders was sitting cross-legged outside, conserving their energy and regulating their breathing. In a while, they would have to open the crack in Chaoyang Restaurant's door again to bring the family head and the rest out. Chapter 3604. Who knew? The patriarch, who had only gone in for 3 seconds, was sent flying out of the barrier. It was as if he had been kicked out of the barrier. His but landed heavily on the ground. Everyone was dumbfounded. No one could make a sound for a long time. Mu Jingfeng's but hurt even more, his chest hurt even more, and his face hurt even more. He could not speak for a while. Still, Mu Jingshuo reacted the quickest and immediately cried out, "Oh boss, what's going on? You were kicked out by our family's old ancestor, right?" The Mu brothers speechlessly looked at him at the same time. This sixth brother's mouth was the worst. Whatever came to his mind, he would spout and make jokes the moment he opened his mouth. What happened? Mu Jingshuo hurried forward to help his eldest brother up, but who knew that Mu Jingfeng would fling his hand away with a sullen face. Cough. Big brother. The fourth brother, Mu Jingshao, stepped forward to help Mu Jingfeng. Seeing his ashen face and thick smoke rising from the top of his head, he did not know what to say to smooth things over for a moment. Mu Jingfeng's lips were tightly pursed, and he was simply unwilling to say anything. If everyone thought that he was kicked out by old ancestor Zhaoyang, his reputation would still be slightly better. If others were to find out that he, Mu Jingfeng, was kicked out of Chaoyang Restaurant by that unfilial daughter, then he would really have no place to hide his old face. His anger toward Arbor was practically bursting. If it weren't for the fact that these people were present, he would have wished for nothing more than to enter Morning Sun Restaurant again, capture Chiao Mu, and ruthlessly whip her. This unfilial daughter actually dared to treat her father like this. Was there still any law? Was there any justice in this world? If the heavens had eyes, they should send down 100 huge lightning bolts to destroy this unfilial daughter. Mu Jingfeng was extremely indignant. After standing up, his expression remained unchanged. It's nothing. You guys continue to stand guard here. When Arbor comes out later, inform me. After saying that, he immediately pushed through the crowd and left in a huff. How could he still have the face to continue staying here? Just by looking at the strange smiles in his brother's eyes, he felt that he couldn't continue to stay here. How could a prideful person like him endure this kind of humiliation? His hatred for Chiao Mu had truly reached a peak. At this moment, Mu Tsang and Mu Jingrui finally recovered from their shock in Chaoyang Restaurant. He cupped his fists at the air in front of him and said respectfully, "Mu Tsang greets old ancestor Zhaoyang. What are you two doing here?" Old ancestor Zhaoyang was no longer the talkative old man he had been when he was talking to Arbor. A big, solemn face suddenly appeared out of thin air in front of Mu Tsang and Mu Jingrui. With a face full of resentment, he said, "I previously said that only my Mu family's younger generation can enter this Chaoyang Restaurant. What are you two doing here? Get out." "Yes, yes." Mu Tsang repeatedly said, "Ancestor, are you all right? What could possibly happen to me?" Forefather Chaoyang snapped, "Get out of here. Don't obstruct my good grandson from climbing the stairs." Mu Tsang and his son Mu Jingrui exchanged glances. Mu Jingrui promptly bowed and hesitated before saying, "Ancestor, Jojo is still young and has a reclusive personality. Her actions are a bit out of line. If she has offended you in any way, I hope you won't hold it against her." "What nonsense are you spouting?" Chapter 3605. Patriarch Chao Yong revealed a protective expression and grumpily scolded Mu Jingrui. "You're the one who's eccentric and out of line. My good granddaughter just doesn't like to talk, that's all. She's smart and quick-witted, who knows how many tens of thousands of times more outstanding than you people. Hurry and scram. Don't obstruct my good granddaughter from climbing the stairs. I'm afraid my good granddaughter is going to break the record for the stone tablet in front of my Chao Yong pavilion." Thinking of this, the old man's large face hanging in the air smiled until all his wrinkles were exposed. Mu Jingrui looked at Patriarch Chao Yong strangely, then turned back to look at his father and quietly muttered, "Doesn't seem like it." "What doesn't seem like it?" Patriarch Chao Yong instantly scolded him in annoyance. "You brat, speak properly and say it louder." Mu Jingrui was instantly speechless and exchanged glances with his father. Mu Tsong awkwardly coughed. That, Patriarch Chao Yong, it's a misunderstanding, this is a misunderstanding." "What misunderstanding?" Patriarch Chao Yang's face was full of sharpness as he unhappily asked, "What? Did you guys forcefully open Chao Yong Pavilion's door and barge in, or did something really happen? Since you came in, why didn't you tell this old man clearly? Hurry and speak." Mu Tsong's mouth involuntarily twitched as he stammered. It's the two granddaughters that you kicked out just now. They're worried about your safety." The more Mu Tsong spoke, the more he felt that he was a bit retarded. If he said everything in front of Patriarch Chao Yong, those two children's paths in this lifetime could be considered to have come to an end. Nothing, Patriarch." Mu Tsong quickly shook his head and coughed lightly, saying, Since Patriarch is fine, then we'll go out first." Mu Tsong was about to contact the elders outside to tear open the crack in the barrier and let the father and son out. Unexpectedly, Patriarch Chao Yang's large head suddenly floated down. His large illusory face pressed down on the father and son's heads just like that, his eyes staring straight at them. To be honest, this appearance was indeed a bit frightening. The father and son looked at each other, feeling goosebumps rising in their hearts. Old ancestor." Mu Jingrui braced himself and called out, "Finish what you just said." Old ancestor Chao Yang's face was full of anger. "Tell me, what did they say after they left?" These two girls, this old man's eyes were extremely sharp, and he could tell at a glance that these two girls were not good people. Those who entered Chao Yong restaurant came in through the back door. Originally, the old ancestor was a little disheartened because he hadn't seen many satisfactory disciples in recent years. After all these years, the Mu family was probably getting worse with each generation. This Chaoyang restaurant could only be used as a place for future disciples to dig for treasures. He would just let the two girls pick whatever they wanted and leave. Who would have known that the aptitude of these two girls was so poor? They were the two with the worst aptitudes that he had seen over the years. It would be strange if such a talent was arranged to enter Chaoyang brothel. Looking at how they had spent so much effort wandering around the second or fourth floor, in comparison, there was a little freak who had just entered Chaoyang restaurant and could go up to the 18th floor in one go. There really was no harm without comparison, and the old ancestor became even angrier when he did. In his anger, he gave each of the two girls a kick. Chapter 3606. These two kicks caused Mu Ruyan and Mu Royun to be kicked out of Chaoyang restaurant by the forefather. The forefather didn't expect that these two girls with evil intentions would dare to spread rumors outside and stir up trouble. This was simply preposterous. Thus, when he got angry, Mu Tsong and Mu Jingrui felt a bit of pressure from the bottom of their hearts. Speak. Seeing that the forefather was about to get angry, Mu Jingrui didn't dare to hide anything. He hurriedly recounted everything that Mu Ruyan and Mu Royun had said. Ruyan said that you've been yelling the whole way that you're going to betray your master and exterminate your ancestors. She was worried about your safety, that's why she had us rush over so urgently to take a look. After saying that, Mu Jingrui also felt that this matter was a bit unreliable. Seeing the forefather's intimate attitude toward Arbor, he probably treated Arbor much better than any of the family's juniors. It wasn't like Arbor would really chase after the forefather, right? Moreover, with the forefather's current cultivation, even if 3 to 5 little Arbor came, they wouldn't be able to touch the forefather's soul in the slightest, right? They had all been tricked by Mu Ruyan and Mu Royun and ran in to get beaten up. Mu Jingrui took a deep breath and returned to his senses. He hurriedly said, "Please calm your anger, forefather." Mu Tsong also recovered at this time. He was outside earlier because he was worried that with his granddaughter's temper, she might really do something to betray her master and exterminate her ancestors. Now that he thought about it carefully, although this granddaughter of his was very cold and cheerless, her character was very good. He should have trusted her. Mu Tsong hurriedly cupped his hands and shouted, "Forefather, this disciple was muddle-headed. Please forgive me. This disciple will go out now." "Of course you're muddle-headed." Forefather Chaoyong shouted irritably. "The Mu family is really getting worse with each generation in your hands." Forefather Chaoyong snorted coldly. "This old man will go out with you. I have something to announce while I'm at it." Mu Tsong instantly broke out in cold sweat. Forefather. Forefather Chaoyong coldly glanced at Mu Tsong and Mu Jingrui. "If the Mu family is left to you to manage, it will decline. The most outstanding disciples of the Mu clan have all changed their names? What did you do? Is it because I haven't been on the continent for decades that you don't even have the brains to do things? The Long family was originally our ally, and now that our relationship has become like this, you all have an inescapable responsibility." Mu Tsong's face was immediately filled with shame. He lowered his head and cupped his hands. "Yes, old ancestor is right." Forefather Chaoyong snorted. "If you hadn't chosen the wrong patriarch, how could the family have ended up like this? I can't help but feel angry when I see your foul faces." Forefather Zhaoyang scolded Mu Tsong the moment he opened his mouth. There was nothing old Master Mu could do. After all, old Master Mu was the most prestigious old master in the history of the Mu family. If he scolded him, then so be it. Let the old man vent his anger, then everything will probably be fine. Let's go. Old ancestor Chaoyong snorted and waved his hand. "I'll go with you." Mu Tsong immediately smiled bitterly and exchanged glances with Mu Jingrui before nodding repeatedly. Now that he followed the old ancestor out, there was no need for the elders outside to work hard to open the Chaoyong pavilion's door. The two followed behind old ancestor Chaoyang. As soon as they went out, old ancestor Chaoyang's wrinkled face enlarged and appeared above everyone's head. Chapter 3607. Who was the one who spread rumors in the clan? Who said that I was chased and beaten by my granddaughter? Ancestor Chaoyong roared as soon as he went out. Mu Royan and Mu Royun were so scared that they rolled on the ground. They didn't expect that Ancestor Chaoyang's soul could still come out of the Chaoyong pavilion. "Greetings, greetings, Ancestor." The two sisters hurriedly crawled forward and respectfully kowtowed in front of Ancestor Chaoyong. Ancestor Chaoyong didn't care about their respect at all and continued to glare at them. "Shameless! How dare you make up lies and slander my reputation?" Did he not care about his reputation? If word got out that he was chased and beaten by his granddaughter with an explosion talisman, wouldn't he feel embarrassed? "Ancestor! Ancestor, please spare our lives! Ancestor, please spare our lives!" Mu Royan and Mu Royun were so scared that their hair stood on end. They didn't expect that Ancestor Chaoyang would really come out of the pavilion to settle the score with them. So it was indeed Mu Royan and Mu Royun who were spouting nonsense. The Mu clan disciples all talked at once and whispered. "Like I said, Ancestor is a senior expert. How could he be chased and beaten by Miss Jojo?" Everyone nodded in agreement. Their eyes were still filled with disdain as they looked coldly at Mu Royan and Mu Royun. The good days of these two sisters could be considered to have come to an end. Now that they had offended Ancestor Chaoyang, not to mention that their concubine couldn't protect them, even the patriarch wouldn't be able to settle this matter completely. Mu Royun was slightly smarter than her sister. When she realized that the situation wasn't right, she hurriedly kowtowed and begged for mercy. Her head hit the limestone floor and made a thumping sound. "Ancestor, ancestor, I was wrong. I shouldn't have listened to my sister's words. I didn't know the truth and spoke casually and tarnished ancestor's reputation." Mu Ro Yun's words immediately pushed the blame to her sister, Mu Ro Yen. Mu Ro Yen was instantly flabbergasted. She turned back to look at her and hurriedly kowtowed. "Matriarch, matriarch, this has nothing to do with me. I was—" Old ancestor Zhaoyang was too lazy to listen to their bickering. He waved his hand and said, "As a disciple of the Mu family, if you harbor evil intentions, you will not be able to achieve great things in the future. Mu Tsang, from tomorrow onwards, send these 2 disciples out of the main family. Let them go to a barren land to temper their temperament." Mu Tsang smiled bitterly and nodded. He cupped his hands and replied, "Yes." Since the ancestor had spoken, he naturally had to do as he was told. Mu Ro Yen and Mu Ro Yun were completely dumbfounded. Did the patriarch mean that he was going to chase them out of the imperial capital and send them to a remote place where even the chickens wouldn't lay eggs or birds wouldn't shit? The 2 sisters, Mu Ro Yen and Mu Ro Yun, no longer cared about fighting each other. They wept bitterly and kowtowed as they begged for mercy. Arbor, who was climbing the stairs in Morning Sun Pavilion, didn't know that the ancestor's words had dealt with 2 people she hated the most. She didn't know how much time had passed, but Arbor felt that the scenery in front of her had changed many times. The people outside the pavilion had gone from shock and petrification to numbness. Before today, if someone had told them that someone could climb the entire 90th floor of Morning Sun Pavilion in one go, they wouldn't have believed it even if they were beaten to death. Today, reality gave them a resounding slap in the face. It blinded everyone's dog eyes. Chapter 3608. Arbor stood at the entrance of a mountain and looked up at the 3 words, Morning Sun Pavilion, hanging high in the air. He understood that he had finally reached the most crucial part of the climb. He reckoned that he would be able to reach the core treasure land of Morning Sun Pavilion after breaking through the 8th or 9th floor. The little fellow was a little tired after all the trouble. She ran into her own fish orchid planet and ate 2 colorful divine fish that Chochio had roasted. She drank 3 cups of spirit tea and rested for a long time. Only then did she leave the star domain and continue climbing. After the 90th floor, not only did they need to search for array talismans, Arbor also began to encounter many ferocious beasts. Subduing these ferocious beasts naturally required some effort. Unfortunately, Miss Chow had more people on her side. When she was too lazy to deal with the ferocious beasts, she would let Qi Xianxian and the rest out and beat them up. The matter was easily resolved. On the other side, the patriarch was lecturing the Mu family members non-stop outside. Who would have thought that the little girl was cheating all the way? "Patriarch, it's the 99th floor. The 99th floor. Patriarch. Patriarch." When Mu Jinshua cried out in shock and abruptly interrupted Patriarch Chao Yang's long-winded lecture, everyone's expressions had already turned from numb to tranquil. Haha, don't ask them why they had such expressions. Because at this moment, they simply didn't know what other expressions they could show other than being expressionless. Shock. Shock. Shock and stupefaction? Don't joke around. They had already gotten used to it since yesterday evening. Like idiots, they stood for an entire night until dawn, and someone broke through the 99th floor of Morning Sun Pavilion. Was this a myth? This was definitely a myth. At this moment, Mu Jingrue could only look at his father with a wry smile. Needless to say, this child Jojo's talent was truly much higher than anyone else in the family. No wonder the patriarch liked her so much and valued her so much. The patriarch also turned to look at Morning Sun Pavilion and beamed. This old man wants to announce the second matter. This old man wants to pass on the position of Mu family head to my good grandson. At first, everyone thought that they were hallucinating, but after looking at each other, they realized that everyone else had the same confused expression on their faces. Suddenly, their whole body quivered, and the drowsiness from standing all night was instantly awakened by the shock. Old ancestor, what did you say? The Mu family's second son, Mu Jingxing, had an ashen face. It could be said that he was quite unsightly. What kind of joke was this? Previously, he was already very dissatisfied with Mu Jingfeng, who had neither virtue nor talent, succeeding the family head's position. Now, the old ancestor actually said that he wanted a young and inexperienced lass to lead the entire Mu family? Meanwhile, Abba was standing on the 99-story Morning Sun building's core defensive array. With a thought, Xiao Chen casually waved his hand. Mu Jiating, who was sitting cross-legged on the 12th floor of the Morning Sun Pavilion, appeared on the transparent barrier in front of the formation. As long as someone entered Chaoyang Tower, Abba would be able to see it if he wanted to. Turning off Mu Jiating's image, Abba slowly walked through the core defense array and looked up at the 4 golden bronze doors in front of him. Reaching out to push open the first door, Sir Jojo walked in expressionlessly with a pair of small paws behind his back. Seeing the emptiness inside, the little fellow's eyes did not have the slightest ripple. She took out 2 revealing talismans and flicked them out. Chapter 3609. Rows and rows of bookshelves slowly appeared in the originally empty space in front of her. The antique air was filled with the scent of books and ink. Neatly arranged books were all placed on the bookshelves carved from red sandalwood. Mo Fei. Abba walked towards the bookshelves and suddenly felt her vision blur. The rows of bookshelves had disappeared, and she felt as if she was standing under a vast starry sky. Scattered in front of his eyes were lumps of milky white halos, scattered and scattered in a disorderly manner. These halos were all floating in front of Abba. They were of different sizes and shapes. Abba raised a small hand and casually grabbed a small light spot. Holding it in her hand, she used her divine sense to penetrate it. Only then did she see clearly that it was a book about medicine. She gently let go of the book and went to grab another small light spot. What she saw now was a book about cultivation method inheritance. Presumably, this first golden bronze door contained all kinds of cultivation method inheritance manuals, as well as some books related to pills and talismans that the Mu family had collected since the upper 3 continents. Abba slowly walked under the vast starry sky in front of her. She reached out and flipped through the cultivation method manuals in front of her. Seeing a 9 lightning haste spiritual technique, she took it and planned to give it to Xian to learn later. Just like that, she wandered under the starry sky for more than 2 hours. Abba looked at the vast sea of books in the distance and decided to leave it at that for the time being. If she continued to wander like this, she didn't know if she could finish browsing in 3 days and 3 nights. She still wanted to go to the other 3 spaces and see what was inside. After exiting the first golden bronze door, the heavy door closed by itself. Standing before these large doors, Qiao Mu was like a tiny blade of grass. This door was estimated to be 100 feet tall. From this, it could be seen how vast the space inside was. At this moment, above the first door, on the originally empty signboard, 3 large words appeared: Book Collection Pavilion. Abba glanced at it and turned to walk towards the second door. She gently pushed the door with her palm. The second golden bronze door creaked and automatically opened inwards. The little fellow stomped through the door, leaving a slender shadow at the door. As soon as he walked in, he could smell the fragrance of herbs in the air. It seemed that this should be a medicinal pill pavilion. After throwing out a talisman, the scene in front of him still transformed into a sea of stars. However, at this moment, the sea of stars in front of him was filled with all kinds of green herbs. Inside those small light spots of different sizes were elixirs made by famous masters. Every single one of them was at least at the divine tier. He walked around Abba and didn't find any pills or herbs that were below God tier. He was amazed by forefather Chao Yang's generosity. This was a proper nouveau riche. Abba waved his hand and took out a pill wrapped in a ball of light. He sniffed it and swallowed it. At the same time, the 2 Bayan eggs and the 3 puppies suddenly jumped out excitedly. They jumped back and forth in the starry sky, and the eggs and dogs barked. Abba looked at them expressionlessly and stepped on the tail of one of the puppies. Calm down. They'd been with her for so long, but they still looked like country bumpkins. They were so excited at the sight of some god-tier pills. Sure enough, the forefather was the forefather. After living for so many years and accumulating so much wealth, he wasn't much worse than her at all. Chapter 36:10. Abba picked up a few pills and held the 3 puppies and 2 eggs. She knocked their heads one by one without any expression on her face. Of course, the eggs were round, so it didn't matter where she knocked them. "These pills are for you." Abba stuffed the pills into the puppy's hands and put them away. She held the 2 eggs in her hands and tilted her head. "I'll give you some medicinal liquid to soak in later. Behave yourself for now." The 2 eggs had been through a lot. Without enough sacred power to support them, it was very difficult to make them break out of their shells. Chiao Mu stroked her small chin as she pondered. Didn't venerable ancestors say that he collected all the rare treasures in the world? His grotto heaven and immortal abodes were everywhere in the 3 provinces, and he even found a sacred meridian? If he could find that holy vein, perhaps the 2 eggs could still be saved. Thinking of this, the little girl's mood improved. She walked out of the golden bronze door and went to the next room. In the 3rd room, there were many magic treasures and artifacts. Abba planned to organize them when she was free. She replaced some of the things in the maple pavilion and gave some good ones to her senior sisters. As for the 4th door, Abba couldn't open it. She walked around the door curiously but didn't find anything unusual. Since she couldn't open it for the time being, Abba didn't think about it anymore. She walked out of the Chaoyong pavilion and heard a commotion. Abba didn't care about the people of the Mu family who were talking at once. She turned to Patriarch Chaoyong and shouted, "Are you going back?" "I'm going to start collecting." The old man said that the whole Chaoyong pavilion was hers, so it was hers. Sir Siqiao was not someone who liked to be courteous to others. Since the old man was willing to send him off, Sir Siqiao could only gladly accept it. Patriarch Chaoyong had expressed his intention clearly. He was a little tired now. After all, he was only a soul and had to wait for his body to come back. Before leaving, the old man shouted at Mu Tsong with dissatisfaction, "You little brat, ask someone to remove my memorial tablet from the ancestral hall." The old man wasn't dead yet. Offering incense to the memorial tablet so early in the morning, could it be that they couldn't wait for him to die early? Mu Tsong's old face stiffened. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. How could he have expected Ancestor Zhaoyang to be so mischievous? It had to be known that the life lantern he had enshrined in the ancestral hall had long since disappeared. In addition, Ancestor Zhaoyang had not appeared in the past few decades. Who would have thought that Ancestor Zhaoyang had only gone out to travel? Of course, there were even more ridiculous things to come. Old Ancestor Chaoyang, on the other hand, showed up and reprimanded his descendants. After that, he went back to hiding in Chaoyong Pavilion. In the end, he had left behind a huge mess, and he still needed this old man to deal with it. Just thinking about it made him feel tired. Chiao Mu didn't care what the other people from the Mu clan were thinking. With a flick of her finger, she swiftly struck out several talismans according to Ancestor Chaoyong's instructions, storing the Morning Sun restaurant in front of her into a sealing talisman. Subsequently, she tossed it to her fish orchid planet for the sapling to set up. As for Mu Jiating, who was still in Chaoyong Pavilion, Abba did not make things difficult for him. Since Mu Jiating had entered the Chaoyong Pavilion with his own ability, he could continue. When Mu Jiating left the Chaoyong Pavilion, he would ask Qiuqiu to throw him out of Fish Orchid Star. Chapter 36:11. Everyone in the Mu family, from the elders to the disciples, had complicated expressions on their faces as they watched this little girl take away the entire Chaoyong Pavilion. If someone had told them that Chaoyong Pavilion would be taken away by a Mu family disciple one day, they would never have believed it. However, today, reality slapped them twice on the right after slapping them on the left side of their faces. Painful, it really hurts. Especially Elder Qing and the others, the expressions on their old faces were very interesting. Previously, they had been making things difficult for this little ancestor by not letting her enter Chaoyong Pavilion. In the end, Not only did the little grand aunt enter the Chow Yong restaurant herself, she also reached the 99th floor in one go, breaking the Mu family's 100-year record. Now, she even sealed the entire Chow Yong restaurant and took it away. She took it away. Regardless of whether this fella took Chow Yong Pavilion into her storage talisman or not, this Chow Yong Pavilion had become this fella's private property from now on? How could they accept this? How could they endure this? None of the Mu family members could bear it, let alone Elder Qing and the others. The smiles on their old faces were long gone as they frequently looked in Mu Tsong's direction. Mu Tsong didn't say anything and only looked at Arbor with a gentle gaze. "Jojo, come with Grandpa to the hall. Go invite the patriarch, the first elder, second elder, and third elder to come to the hall." Hearing this, everyone looked at each other and couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. "You guys come too." Mu Tsong nodded faintly at Mu Jingxing, Elder Qing, and the others before turning to leave. Sir Jojo didn't know what had happened and only looked curiously at everyone's expression as if they had stepped on dog poop. It seemed rather interesting. Everyone looked agitated and uneasy, especially the second son, Mu Jingxing. He almost couldn't control the twitching muscles on his face and the angry expression on his face. "Father, wasn't old ancestor's decision a little too hasty?" Mu Jingxing shouted at his father's back as he hurriedly left. Mu Tsong ignored his sons clamoring behind his back and just sped up his pace to leave. Mu Jingxing turned around and glared fiercely at Arbor. Arbor was even more baffled. She could not figure out what was wrong with Mu Jingxing to suddenly make things difficult for her. But it didn't matter. Anyway, she had never put Mu Jingxing and the rest in her eyes. As for what they thought of her, it had nothing to do with her. Because of Mu Tsong's order, everyone could only resentfully walk towards the main hall. However, there were still many people who looked at Arbor strangely from time to time. Arbor thought that they were probably jealous that she had obtained all the treasures in Chaoyang Tower. Since she had indeed gained a lot of benefits from this trip, if these people wanted to glare at her, then let them be. Jojo decided to put up with them until he couldn't take it anymore. Then, he would smack them to death and teach them a lesson. In this way, the Mu family entered the Mu family's main hall with a strange atmosphere. Those pairs of strange eyes glanced at Arbor from time to time, but no one dared to provoke her. In the end, how this matter would develop depended on the old patriarch. It wasn't something that could be decided by a bunch of small fries shouting here. Everyone filed into the main hall and sat down. Chapter 36:12. Arbor also followed in. She looked around and found a seat at the head of the table. Mu Jingxing, who was slower than her by a beat, glared at her with an indignant expression. He muttered something under his breath and unwillingly sat down at the seat next to her. Arbor glanced at him from the corner of her eyes. She did not understand why Mu Jingxing was so resentful toward her today. Could it be that he ate the wrong medicine? Mu Tsong sat at the head of the table and raised his arm slightly. "Is the family head not here yet?" As he spoke, Mu Jingfeng stormed in with a furious expression, followed by the two sisters, Mu Ro Yen and Mu Ro Yun, who were crying their eyes out. Mu Jingfeng's current mood was naturally extremely bad. He did not expect that his two daughters, whom he had doted on since they were young, would actually be banished from the main family. Although he hated that his two daughters did not live up to his expectations, this did not mean that he was willing to give up on his two beautiful daughters just like that. These were the daughters that he had spent a lot of effort to nurture. Now that Mu Rochuan was no longer of any use, if he were to lose these two daughters, he would truly be unable to accept it. Arbor inexplicably swept a glance at the two weeping fools and inwardly snorted in disdain. Crazy. Weren't they just kicked out of Chaoyang restaurant by the old ancestor and did not reap any benefits? Was there a need to cry and complain to their father? What, did these two sisters think that by crying to Mu Jingfeng, they could continue to cheat their way into Chaoyang restaurant? They were simply indulging in fantasy. Arbor coldly snorted and disdainfully glanced at the two fools. At this moment, she still did not know that the old ancestor had already helped her harshly teach these two sisters a lesson. What happened next was enough for the two sisters to be unlucky for the rest of their lives. Mu Ruyan and Mu Royun both knelt down and covered their faces as they sobbed uncontrollably. The more Arber looked at the two sisters, the more vexed he felt. He looked up at the old man sitting at the head of the table. "What are the two of them doing here? You evil!" Before the word evil creature could leave his mouth, Mu Jingfeng felt his father, Mu Tsong, shooting him a sharp glare from the head of the table, and he forcibly swallowed his curses. Mu Tsong glared angrily at Mu Jingfeng, and his words were very rude. "Why did you bring the two of them here? You didn't hear what the patriarch said earlier. I'll repeat it for you now." Mu Tsong reprimanded with a cold face. Ancestors' meaning is to send these two children out of the main family to gain experience and temper their temperament. If you can't bear to part with your two daughters, then go with them. Mu Jingfeng stared blankly at his father. How many years had it been? His father had never spoken to him in such a tone. After all, he was now the Mu family's head, and his status in the family was extremely honorable. No matter what his father said or did, he had to give him some face. But now, his father actually slapped him in the face in public, and even told him to scram from the Mu family? What was going on? Mu Tsong raised his hand to rub his brows and glared at his two granddaughters kneeling on the floor with dissatisfaction. "The patriarch is right. The two of you should properly go out to gain experience and temper your temperament." Right now, he wasn't really expelling the two of them from the Mu family. He was merely sending them to a branch family to undergo life training. Looking at how the two of them were crying, where was the tenacity and indomitable temperament of cultivators? Could it be that after so many years, the Mu family had trained such disciples? Chapter 36:13. Then what kind of strength and cultivation did they have to compete with other patrician families in the future? The more Mu Tsong looked at Mu Jingfeng, the more he found him to be an eyesore. Look at all the unpresentable things he did. What did he do to the Mu family all these years? Right now, he couldn't help but wonder if his decision to let Mu Jingfeng succeed the family head position back then was a mistake. At this moment, alarm bells were ringing in Mu Jingfeng's heart. He saw his father's look of denial. His father's eyes were filled with disappointment and suspicion, causing his heart to be lifted up fiercely and uncontrollably thump. At this point, Arber finally understood. As it turned out, Mu Royan and her sister weren't crying like this because Patriarch Chaoyang kicked them out of Chaoyang Pavilion and didn't obtain any treasures. Instead, it was because these two people were banished by Patriarch Chaoyang. This really was good news. This meant that in the future, Sir Jojo wouldn't need to see these two idiots and listen to their long-winded chatter. Arber was a bit agitated and involuntarily swept a glance at the unlucky sisters. Coincidentally, Mu Royan raised her head and saw the little stoic's expressionless face. The resentment and hatred in her heart instantly surged, and she couldn't help but raise her voice and shriek, "I refuse to accept this." "Arber, do you dare to swear to the heavens that you didn't commit an act of deceiving your master and destroying your ancestors in Chaoyang Pavilion? Do you dare to swear that you didn't use an explosion talisman to blow up the entire Chaoyang Pavilion and chase after the patriarch and kill him? Do you dare to swear?" Everyone's gazes focused on Arber. "Impudent!" Mu Tsong bellowed. "The patriarch already said that there was absolutely no such thing. Are you questioning the patriarch's decision?" "Grandpa!" Mu Royan burst into tears. "I don't want to leave the imperial capital, I don't want to. I don't want to go to that lousy branch family. This matter isn't up to you." Mu Tsong waved his hand impatiently. "Guards, escort these two back. Watch them pack their things and send them away tomorrow morning." "Grandpa!" The two sisters burst into tears. They wanted to lie on the ground and plead for mercy, but Mu Tsong obviously didn't give them the chance to continue talking nonsense. He directly ordered people to drag the two of them away. Mu Royan and her sister bitterly turned to look at their father, Mu Jingfeng. However, at this moment, Mu Jingfeng was also shocked by old Master Mu's cold expression. How would he dare to plead for leniency? He simply allowed the servants to bring them away. Mu Tsong coldly glanced at Mu Jingfeng. Family head, ancestor appeared just now and made an important decision. His voice was very calm, but the hearts of the Mu family members present were not calm at all. Mu Jingxing's face couldn't help but twitch. He tried his best to suppress the resentment in his heart and turned to glare at Arba, who was sitting on his left. The old ancestor has decided that you should abdicate and hand over the position of clan head. Mu Jingfeng's facial muscles twitched, and he could not help but shout, "Father!" He thought that this decision was Mu Tsong's own decision, and that he was only using the ancestor's name. "You think this is my decision?" Mu Tsong glanced at his son and calmly said, "Back then, after you were kicked out of Chao Yong Pavilion, you left in a fit of anger. Ancestor Chao Yong appeared with us and announced this decision." "I don't agree." Mu Jingfeng's face flushed red. "Arba's surname isn't Mu." Chapter 36:14. She even abandoned her Mu family's surname. On what basis should she be the head of the household? Mu Jingfeng's face could not help but slightly contort. Elder Qing's expression was complicated. "That's right. Furthermore, the crown princess has only returned to China not long ago. Letting her shoulder the entire Mu family's future? Isn't this too much of a trifling matter? The crown princess is still young. She's not suitable." "That's right. As the imperial family's daughter-in-law, the crown princess will have many trivial matters to attend to in the future. It's not good to bother her with the Mu family's matters." All sorts of voices emerged, but every word was negative toward Arba's succession as the head of the household. Of course, the decisions made by the head of the household over the years have also harmed the family's interests. In particular, his attitude toward the Long family has also been wrong. Old family head, you can choose another suitable disciple to inherit the position of the head of the household.
Oh.
Who does Elder Fu think is suitable to inherit the position of the head of the household? Mu Tsong asked coldly as he looked at the elder on his left who was spouting nonsense. "I think Jing Xing is quite suitable." As soon as he said this, Mu Jingxing immediately cupped his hands toward the elder who nominated him. He could not help but smile as he modestly declined, "Elder Fu is too kind. In terms of qualifications, Jing Xing may not be enough. Furthermore, Jing Xing has no intention of stealing Big Brother's limelight." After saying this, he cupped his hands toward the unsightly Mu Jingfeng with a tactful look. Mu Tsong harumphed and abruptly raised his hand to slap the table. "All of you, shut up. Jing Xing, you are indeed not qualified to be the next head of the household." The old man's words instantly made Mu Jingxing's face turn ashen. He understood his father very well. Since his father had completely rejected him, it meant that he had absolutely no hope for the position of the head of the household. It was just that. He had to respectfully address Arba as the head of the household in the future. No matter what, it was hard for him to accept. Thinking of this, Mu Jingxing said with an ugly expression, "Father, although old ancestor Zhaoyang personally named Arba as the head of the household, but it's clear that this child is still young and inexperienced. She's not suitable to be our Mu family's head in all aspects." "I agree with Jing Xing." "I agree too." Seeing that the whole family was against it, Mu Jingfeng's face, which was as black as the bottom of a pot, looked slightly better. As long as everyone objected in unison and there was no suitable candidate in the family, then for the time being, there would be no change in the position of the family head. Mu Jingxing, this brat, had grown wings in recent years and started to have special ideas. It seemed like it was time to teach him a lesson. Otherwise, he would think that he could surpass his big brother and suppress him in everything he did. With that thought in mind, Mu Jingfeng turned to look at his second brother, and his gaze darkened further. However, in the next second, his expression changed drastically. Old Master Mu Tsong said in a deep voice, "The reason why I gathered you here is not to listen to any of your opinions. Instead, I am informing all of you that I will abide by the ancestors' wishes and let Jing Feng abdicate to Cao Cao. You only need to know this clearly. Although old Master Mu's voice was extremely faint, his words, which did not allow anyone to object, were sonorous and forceful. In an instant, he blocked everyone's words. Arbor blinked. As the person involved, she was also a little confused. Head of the household? Her. Chapter 36:15. Did she really not hear wrongly? Did old Master Mu mean that he wanted Mu Jingfeng to abdicate the family head position to her? He even said that this was old ancestor Chaoyang's intention? What was going on? Why did she feel like everything was going out of her control the moment she came out of Chaoyang restaurant? Sir Jojo expressionlessly looked up at Mu Tsang and jumped up from the stool. Before you all discuss this family head position, shouldn't you ask for my opinion first? Everyone turned to look at the young lady, dumbfounded. Opinion? What opinion could you have? What's the matter? You can still have an opinion when the Mu family head position is placed in front of you? Is this still acceptable? Is there still justice in this world? Mu Tsang coughed lightly and turned to look at his little granddaughter. He asked kindly, Jojo, speak. I don't have the slightest interest in the position of the Mu clan's patriarch. Qiao Mu's words instantly set off a storm in the entire hall. Especially Mu Jingxing, who was sitting below her and had just been denied the right to inherit the family head position by old Master Mu's words, could not bear it any longer and jumped up as well. Arbor, don't be too arrogant. Mu Jingxing said angrily. Do you think that the Mu family head position is child's play? Their Mu family was a large aristocratic family with a 1,000-year-old legacy. Among the 6 major aristocratic families of China, they were ranked 3rd. Compared to the Qin estate's wealth and the Duan estate's inheritance, their Mu family was only slightly inferior. What's the matter? How can you, Arbor, be wronged in inheriting the Mu family head position? Mu Jingxing's words resonated with many of the Mu family's descendants. Everyone glared at Miss Qiao as if they were enemies, completely forgetting that they were all in denial and did not want Arbor to inherit the family head position. But now, once they discovered that Arbor simply scoffed at the family head position, they became even more dissatisfied. How old was this little girl? What right did she have to look down on their large aristocratic family with a 1,000-year-old legacy? She really wanted to go to heaven. Arbor glanced at the people around him and curled his lips in annoyance. Just your family. You want me to take over? Keep on dreaming. Look at you motley crew, what kind of people are you? Arbor criticized him mercilessly. To put it nicely, he's an elder of the family and a mainstay of the noble families of inheritance. To put it bluntly, they are a bunch of trash. The little girl did not give him any face and spoke bluntly. Her words caused the expressions of everyone present to change. You. Elder Qing suddenly jumped up from his seat and shouted at the head of the family, Family head, you heard it too. What is this girl talking about? You don't even want to use our Mu family's surname. You're really a traitor. You just don't want to be united with our Mu family. Right. How can such a person inherit the position of the Mu clan's patriarch? Even if it's an order from old ancestor Zhao Yang, I won't accept it. Yes, I'm not convinced. Everyone clamored and slapped the tables, chairs, and benches beside them, making thumping sounds. What, do you feel like your dignity has been insulted? Arbor was not afraid of these people who were fuming with rage and glaring at him, looking as if they wanted to eat him alive. Chapter 36:16. She calmly turned her head and swept a glance around before pointing at Mu Jingxing. You, all day long, think that you're very capable. Says, in the end, you're short-sighted and only have eyes for the small plot of land in front of you. You only want to use power and tricks to compete with Mu Jingfeng for the family head position. Those who are truly capable should go out and make a name for themselves. Go out and do your own business. You're already so old, yet you only want to inherit the family business and the ancestral property. No wonder the old ancestor looks down on you guys. Look at you guys. Each and every one of you has lived for so long, yet even a teenage child understands reason. You guys, on the other hand, don't understand. The descendants taught are all the same as you guys. Each and every one of you only knows how to raise a fuss at home. If someone comes knocking on your door, do you dare to resist? Just like more than 10 years ago, when your ally, the Long family, was besieged, did you dare to come out and fart? You don't dare, right? If you don't dare, then don't talk nonsense. Ask yourselves honestly, which one of you who wants to go to Chao Yong Lu doesn't want to run there for benefits? Which one of you is truly going there for the purpose of gaining experience? The talismans passed down in the family are missing. Among you guys, how many of you are truly studying talisman arts? You're already so old, yet you're still only an advanced talisman master. Aren't you ashamed? Abba casually pointed at an elder whose beard and eyebrows were trembling non-stop as she reprimanded. Don't joke around. Seriously, Abba, can't find any young subordinates? There are so many people in the world who dare to fight, charge, and work hard. If I don't look for them, why would I look for you guys? Why would I want you guys to be a bunch of trash? What can you do by staying by my side? I even find it a waste of my food. She practically didn't catch her breath as she reprimanded them. After speaking, even Sir Jojo herself felt tired. A bunch of fools. What was she wasting her breath on them for? Abba directly turned and walked out of the main hall. She waved her hand and said, "A plate of loose sand, a motley crew. Whoever wants to be the family head can be. Don't come looking for me. You." How could the elder, who was directly pointed at his nose and asked if he was ashamed, endure such idle anger? He jumped up from his seat and threw an attack talisman at Abba's back. Old Master Mu, who was sitting at the head of the table, snorted. "Stop it." But the talisman had already turned into a streak of light, and the surging talisman energy rushed towards Abba's back. A frog in a well. Abba turned her head and moved her finger slightly. A jade talisman jumped out and scattered specks of light in front of her, directly absorbing the opponent's attack talisman. That jade talisman floated in midair, and with Xiao Mu's shout, "Go!" it flew towards that elder whose complexion had turned slightly green with a whoosh. "Elder Du!" everyone exclaimed. The jade talisman emitted a strange light, and a surging attack talisman force rushed toward Elder Du's chest. This time, he was sent flying. With a bang, he smashed into the armchair on the left, smashing the poor chair into pieces. He also rolled to the ground, groaning and groaning for a long time, unable to get up. The power of an ant. Abba shouted and flipped her hand. A jade talisman with a strange light was flicked in front of Elder Du. Freeze. The jade talisman suddenly turned into powder and dissipated in the air. Everyone took a closer look. Oh God, Elder Du was petrified on the ground. Chapter 36:17. When this old man rolled down from the stool, one of his legs was slightly raised, and both his hands were spread open, posing as if he was struggling with all his might. At this moment, he was extremely embarrassed. He was frozen on the spot with this action. His entire facial expression was stiff, and his muscles kept twitching slightly. His pair of turbid old eyes could not help but spew out flames. Abba couldn't be bothered to look at this old man. He directly turned around and left without saying a word. Family head. 3 elders walked in from the door and turned to look in the direction the little fellow left. Sigh, first elder, second elder, third elder, you're finally here. Mu Tsong smiled bitterly as he stood up from his seat. You all saw the situation just now. Mu Tsong sighed. Old ancestors' wishes cannot be disobeyed. See if there's any way to resolve this matter. The muscles on Mu Jingfeng's cheeks trembled slightly, and he couldn't help but blurt out, Father. Jingfeng. Old Master Mu raised his hand slightly to stop him from speaking. He glanced at him and said, I've already decided on this matter. This is old ancestors' order. It's not something you or I can casually change. Mu Jingfeng clenched his fists tightly, trying his best to restrain his trembling anger. Father, but you saw it too. What kind of attitude was that? She simply criticized our entire Mu family from top to bottom until we're completely worthless. Third elder Mu Jingyuan couldn't help but interject coldly. Could it be that what she said was wrong? A plate of loose sand. Mu Jingyuan turned around and left as well. Only a group of furious elders, as well as Mu Jingxing and the rest, who were so angry that their entire bodies hurt, were left behind. As for Mu Xingchen, he had already silently stood up and walked to the door when his sister flared up. After his sister left, he had already left with her. At this moment, the two siblings were walking to the Mu family's mountain entrance and conversing softly. Sister, you should reconsider, Mu Xingchen said with a wry smile. Although the Mu family has indeed been in a mess these years, the Mu family is still very powerful. Although the old ancestor has placed such high hopes on you, why don't talk about it, big brother. Abba wrinkled his little nose, looking unhappy. That old man tricked me. He said that he would give Chaoyang restaurant to me, that he would not take a single cent, and that he would definitely not give me any missions. Look, he's already asking me for a reward. What a shameless old man, a big liar. Sir Jojo angrily turned his little head away and walked towards the Mu family's mountain gate. I don't care about your family's matters. A bunch of useless things, and a bunch of idiots who only know how to eat and do nothing. With that, Abba looked at his elder brother sympathetically. Big brother, look at the elders in your family. Other than that elder Dao, who had at least entered the yellow-grade Great Symbol Master realm, what kind of people were the rest of them? You can't even compare to the Mu family of a side branch. It must have been hard for Big Brother to stay in such a house all these years. As a genius, there were many things that he had to do. Normally, he must have been ordered around by those useless elders. In the Mu family, the Elders Guild was considered to be an existence that transcended the family members. Heh. As Qiao Mu spoke, she revealed a disdainful expression, evidently looking down on the Mu clan's council of elders to the extreme. Mu Xingchen couldn't help but sigh. He didn't know what to say to change his little sister's opinion. Chapter 36:18. His little sister's originally expressionless face was now filled with blatant disdain. Mu Xingchen really felt a bit uncomfortable when he saw this. Sigh. The enmity between his little sister and the Mu family really couldn't be easily resolved in a short period of time, alright? It must have been difficult for the old ancestor to come up with such a rotten idea, insisting that his little sister take over the Mu family and become the next family head. Not only was this a slap to his father, Mu Jingfeng's face, but it was also a slap to the faces of all the Mu family's disciples. The Mu family's elders naturally wouldn't allow a little girl to lead their Mu family. Although the old patriarch was there to suppress them, after all, suppressing them for a while was suppressing them, but it couldn't be suppressing them forever. Abba looked up at his elder brother and harumphed. What's the use of having a bunch of good-for-nothings? Mu Xingchen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He couldn't help but rub his little sister's head and chuckle helplessly. Okay, then let's not talk about this. Jojo. Before he could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by a sharp cry. Abba. Following the sound of hurried rolling wheels, it was concubine Shi, who appeared extremely haggard in a wheelchair. It had been a long time since he last saw this woman at New South Garden. He didn't know if this woman had been enlightened recently, but she had been very well behaved and staying in her own court. She ate vegetarian and recited Buddhist scriptures, as if she had converted to Buddhism, as if she was completely aloof from worldly affairs. Abba swept a glance at her, his expression indifferent, but he didn't speak first. Instead, he waited for the flustered and exasperated Shi Huixin to speak first. She must have come because of the banishment of her two daughters. Abba didn't even need to guess to know why this Shi Huixin had come. Shi Huixin hurriedly turned her wheelchair to Abba. She struggled to sit up straight in the wheelchair and moved her body to the ground. The wheelchair lost its gravity and instantly tilted to the side. Shi Huixin fell to the ground and repeatedly kowtowed to Arba, crying out in a tearful voice, Crown Princess, I beg you. Please let my 2 daughters go. They didn't do anything outrageous to offend you. They are so insignificant and lowly. You are the Crown Princess. Why must you be so calculative with 2 concubine daughters and refuse to forgive them? Mu Xingchen stared coldly at Shi Huixin and said indifferently, Concubine Shi, what are you doing here? This matter had nothing to do with his sister. The decision to send Mu Rou Yen and Mu Rou Yun to the branch family for training was made by the elder ancestor. It was also grandfather who agreed to it. It has nothing to do with sister at all. Shi Huixin's face twisted in an instant. Her legs were inconvenient, so she could only crawl forward a few steps and try her best to grab Arba's little foot. Crown Princess, please forgive Rou Yen and Rou Yun. I only have these 2 daughters, you can't destroy them both. They are only your 2 concubine sisters. They have been spoiled by me since they were young. They don't have any ability and can't fight with you. Let them go, don't banish them out of the imperial capital. Mu Xingchen's expression instantly turned even uglier. A concubine mother was kneeling and crying for mercy, begging Jojo to let go of his 2 concubine sisters. It made it seem like Jojo had really persecuted his 2 concubine sisters. Chapter 36:19. What good would this reputation do if it were to spread? This Shi Huixin was truly a source of disaster. Murderous intent flashed across his eyes as he said coldly, Aunt Shi, if you still don't get up, I'll get someone to carry you out. Shi Huixin's outstretched claws naturally failed to grab Arba's little feet as she wished. Qiao Mu took a step back and expressionlessly looked down at Concubine Shi. She said dryly, Concubine Shi, you should have heard eldest brother's words just now. Your 2 daughters' fate has nothing to do with me. No. It's not like that. Concubine Shi had set her sights on Qiao Mu, so she quickly crawled forward and kowtowed repeatedly. She cried out mournfully, Crown Prince Consort, as long as you open your mouth to forgive the 2 of them, I believe that old Sir will definitely deal with this matter at his discretion. In the end, Shi Huixin was threatening and enticing her to plead with the old master. How hilarious! Where did this Shi Huixin get the nerve to think that she, Arba, would be so foolish as to plead with the old master? Just for Mu Ruyan and Mu Rou Yun, that pair of brainless sisters? She even had to sell her face to plead with the old master? Ha! Arba couldn't help but sneer inwardly. Do you think that if you cry in front of me, I will definitely be led by the nose by you because I want to gain a good reputation? Arba said coldly to Shi Huixin, Do you know that in the entire sovereign capital, no one dares to spread rumors about the Crown Princess? Don't do such a senseless thing. Arba said coldly, Your 2 daughters were sent away by the old master's order. It has nothing to do with me. I also won't plead with the old master for your daughters. After all, me and them, heh. She ended the conversation with a mocking laugh. She walked around Shi Huixin and was about to walk forward. A vicious glint flashed across Shi Huixin's eyes as she cried out sternly, Didn't you want to know who secretly colluded with the Shuntian Prefecture's mansion lord and went to the Lower Star region to harm you and your daughter? You know very well that this is definitely not something I can do. Shi Huixin screamed. I know who it is. I know who Shuntian Prefecture's Prefecture Lord Gung Pengcheng is truly working for. As long as you're willing to plead on my 2 daughters' behalf and allow them to stay in the imperial capital, I can tell you. Shi Huixin screamed with a stiff neck. His eyes were filled with resentment and desperation for the last fight. She was betting on what Arba was thinking. Her 2 daughters carried everything she relied on in this life. If they were sent to a remote branch family, it would be very difficult for her to see them again in the future when she wanted to return to the capital. How could she let such a thing happen? Just like this, Qiao Mu's pitch-black eyes stared unblinkingly at Shi Huixin. It was as if he was looking into the depths of her soul. Shi Huixin couldn't help but tremble slightly. Speak. Arba stared coldly at the woman. Tell me everything you know. Do you think the Shuntian Prefecture's mansion lord is truly protecting me? No. Shi Huixin's eyes revealed traces of anger. Feng Lan, the Shuntian Prefecture's mansion lord's wife, identified you before she died, Arba said coldly. You should know Feng Lan. Chapter 36:20. After all, you're from the same organization, so you should have come into contact with each other. What organization? Don't spout nonsense. Now that things have come to this, it'll be pointless if you don't tell the truth. Arba's cold gaze swept over her. Shi Huixin, you dare to say that you're not from Tianyun? If you weren't targeting me on purpose, why did you already welcome Qiao Yingchun back when I first came to the Divine Province, planning to replace my identity and ruin my reputation? Then, you deliberately brought Qiao Yingchun to General Zhong Li's estate. Wasn't it to mislead everyone into thinking that Qiao Yingchun, who was impersonating Mu Qiao, was such an unpresentable thing? Shuntian Prefecture's prefecture lord said it before. He's also helping someone, and the person he's helping doesn't want me to have a good life. And it's precisely because every single thing you've done these past few days, every single one of them, that you don't want me to have a good life. Wasn't it also you who incited Juxian and Meixian to climb through the window and lay their hands on my husband? And that second-rank lass Xiao Xing, she turned into a corpse in the woodshed. I've come into contact with you before, but you still don't admit that you're from Tianyun? Other than Tianyun, I can't think of anyone else who can turn a perfectly fine person into a corpse in a matter of minutes. Don't you think so, concubine Shi? When Arba said these words, he didn't look at his big brother's shocked gaze. Mu Xingchen stared coldly at concubine Shi, who was kneeling on the ground, and kicked her hard. Is what my sister said true? You really are from Tianyun. You're from Tianyun. Tianyun's people had already infiltrated their Mu family? Do you think I did all of this? Shi Huixin screamed and suddenly straightened her body. Her head was raised high, and her pair of inverted dead fish eyes stared lifelessly at Arba. She said word by word, Feng Lan, that slut, does whatever she says count? How many times have I met Gung Pengcheng? How did it reach the point where Gung Pengcheng would die for me? She's slandering me. Gung Pengcheng is also slandering me. Heh, you're just a little concubine mother of the Mu family. You don't step out of the house all day long. How could you have met the Shuntian Prefecture's prefecture lord? This is where the biggest problem lies. You really are one of Tianyun's people. Arba pointed at Shi Huixin, who was lying on the ground, and said coldly. Before this, she only had her suspicions and wasn't sure. Now, he could truly confirm that Shi Huixin belonged to the heavens. Shi Hui Xian. Qiao Mu uttered these 3 words coldly. Tell me everything you know, and I guarantee that your 2 daughters will live well for the rest of their lives. Shi Huixin's body trembled slightly, then she raised her head and glared at Arba. Gung Pengcheng is a very careful person. I only heard that the person he admires is the Hall Master of Flying Heaven. However, the people in the organization usually don't have many opportunities to meet each other. That's why I don't know who the Soaring Heavens Hall's Hall Master is. When Shi Huixin said this, she suddenly spasmed on the ground as if she had gone mad. Just as Mu Xingchen was about to rush forward, Qiao Mu tugged at him and pulled him back 2 steps. Shi Huixin knelt on the ground and scratched her face with all her might, letting out terrifying screams. Chapter 36:21. Shi Huixin's appearance made one's heart tremble. At this very moment, she no longer had the appearance of a noble lady. Her hands were covering her face as she fell sideways on the ground. Her body was curled up as she kept twitching and trembling, as if she had suddenly contracted some sort of illness. This was the main passageway through the Mu family's mountain gate, so Shi Huaxin's unforeseen event naturally attracted many people's attention. Mu Jingfeng, Mu Jingxing, and the rest, who came after hearing the news, were even more shocked as they glared at Aber. Mu Jingfeng sternly shouted, "Aber, you actually treat your concubine mother like this? What kind of enmity or grudge do you have for you to be so vicious to a woman like her? Father, don't spout nonsense and venomous slander." Mu Xingchen immediately retorted in dissatisfaction, "Little sister and I just arrived here when concubine mother ran over on her own. She suddenly became like this while we were talking. What does it have to do with little sister?" When Mu Jingfeng saw how his son was defending Aber in every way, he immediately rebuked, "Unfilial son." He actually said that his own father was venomous slandering. Was this something a son should say? Aber wasn't angry, though. She had long known what kind of person Mu Jingfeng was. Once something happened, if he wasn't blaming this, he would blame that. There wasn't the slightest bit of father-daughter kinship in his heart. For such a selfish man, he probably only had himself in his heart. "Madam, watch your step." Servant Song Lu also rushed to the scene while supporting Mu Qingya, who had rushed all the way here. At this moment, the road leading to the Mu family's mountain gate was filled with a group of Mu family disciples, as well as many servants who didn't mind the commotion. These people hid far away in the corners, not daring to approach, but their eyes flickered with gossipy glints. Concubine Shi went to talk to the crown princess about something, but in the end, this tragic scene suddenly appeared. Everyone naturally didn't believe that this matter had nothing to do with the crown princess. Aber couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with them. He waved his hand and said to his elder brother, "Big brother, let's go." Mu Xingchen nodded in agreement. He also felt that talking to these people was like playing the lute to a cow. It was impossible to make things clear. Since they like to think too much, then just let them be. After making up his mind, Mu Xingchen was about to leave with Aber. However, how could Mu Jingfeng let them leave just like that? Mu Jingfeng waved his hand in front of Qiao Mu's face as he declared with a darkened face, "Qiao Mu, in any case, you are still a child of the Mu clan. Don't rely on your status as the crown prince consort to do as you please. You poisoned your own concubine mother. Even if this matter is reported to His Majesty, you still won't be able to justify it. Hand over the antidote," Mu Jingfeng growled. "Master." Mu Qingya hurriedly stepped forward and stood in front of Aber. She shook her head and said, "Jojo won't do that. There must be something fishy about concubine Shi's matter." "You're still speaking up for her at a time like this?" Mu Jingfeng glared at Mu Qingya angrily. "Just now, the three of them were talking here. Everyone saw it with their own eyes. Everything was fine, but concubine Shi suddenly became like this. Ah, eldest uncle, look, look." Mu Ruian couldn't help but exclaim. Everyone turned to look, and they couldn't help but be startled. They saw that concubine Shi abruptly put down her hand that was covering her face. Chapter 36:22. This time, everyone couldn't help but be shocked. They saw that concubine Shi's face had already completely rotted, oozing a terrifying thick juice. As if it had been corroded by some kind of venom, her face was disappearing inch by inch in this liquid. Mu Jingfeng couldn't help but avert his gaze in disgust. He turned to glare at Aber and shouted, "Aber, you really have such vicious thoughts, such vicious methods. No matter what, your concubine Shi is still your concubine mother and your elder. Even if your words were a bit offensive, you can't use such methods to harm a woman with a low cultivation. Do you still have a conscience? Do you have any sense of shame?" Mu Jingfeng shouted angrily, not caring about how many people were present. Currently, he was glaring at Aber with eyes that seemed to have been dipped in venom. It was as if he wasn't staring at his daughter, but at his life's most deadly enemy. Aber, however, coldly swept a glance at him and sneered, "Then, do you want to kill me?" "Sister." Mu Xingchen couldn't help but panic. His sister's indifferent attitude was as if she was casually accused by her father and couldn't be bothered to defend herself. As her eldest brother, He naturally didn't want to see his sister suffer such a great injustice and be forced to bear the infamy of killing her concubine mother. "Father, you'd better be careful with your words and actions. Don't make wild accusations," Mu Xingchen angrily said. "We siblings only spoke with concubine Shi for a few minutes. During this time, sister didn't even touch concubine Shi's finger. For concubine Shi to be like this, it must be because she was already poisoned long ago. It just so happened that the poison acted up right in front of us." Sophistry. Mu Jingfeng angrily berated, "Xingchen, you've disappointed father too much. You're the Mu family's young master, the Mu family's future hope. If it weren't for the ancestors' previous matter, the entire Mu family would have been inherited by you in the future." Mu Xingchen's gaze turned extremely cold as he coldly stared at his father in front of him. He sneered, "Father, you don't need to sow discord. I'm not like you, having a strong desire to control the Mu family's power. I'm a member of the Mu family. If the Mu family is in trouble, I will not shirk my responsibility. However, I don't care about the position of patriarch at all. Therefore, I have no objections to younger sister becoming the patriarch," Mu Xingchen said with a flat tone and a cold expression. This father of his was too vicious. For the sake of the patriarch's position, he actually did not hesitate to sow discord between him and his younger sister? Did he think that by promising the position of the young master and the position of the future patriarch, he would be able to make him fearful of his sister and fight with his sister for the position of the patriarch so that he, as the father, could benefit from it? He was simply too naive. Mu Jingfeng's eyes emitted a cold and venomous glint as he stared fixedly at his son for a long time before bursting into laughter. "You're overthinking things, Stardust." Seeing that he was unable to provoke his son, Mu Jingfeng could not help but frown and coldly say, "A real man must act with a clear conscience. Although she is your biological sister, it is very unwise to lie and deceive your relatives and elders for her sake." The corners of Arba's lips curled up mockingly. Look, this was her biological father, racking his brains to pin the infamy of poisoning a concubine mother on her. Chapter 36-23. What a great father he was. Aoyi. Arba calmly called out to him. Aoyi giggled as he flashed to her side. "Crown Princess." He turned to look at Mu Jingfeng's group and gave them a sympathetic look. "Family head Mu, oh no, former family head Mu. If you can prove that this matter has nothing to do with the Crown Princess, shouldn't you kneel down and admit your mistake, HM?" Mu Jingfeng's old face abruptly flushed red as he sneered. "Heh, prove it first before talking about anything else." Aoi tilted his head and giggled as he took out a jade talisman from his pocket. Everyone look carefully. What is this? This is a jade talisman with an image. It's also an earth-rank talisman that only our crown princess can make. The moment Aoi took out the jade talisman, Mu Jingfeng's expression involuntarily changed. He did not make everyone wait for long, nor did he give them a chance to react. He directly projected the image from the jade talisman for everyone to see. In it, concubine Shi came over in a wheelchair and immediately knelt on the ground to plead for leniency. Everyone could clearly hear the conversation between the two sides, and the image was also very clear. Everyone could not help but sneak a glance at the expressionless little crown princess. Just how distrustful was the crown princess to the Mu family? She always had her subordinates carry jade talismans with them at all times. As long as the Mu family approached, they would immediately record everything. When the time came, they would have a basis to speak on. From the start, she felt that there were no good people in the Mu family, so she must have something to protect herself when she was outside. What was there to be unclear about in this video? After the crown princess exposed Shi Huixin's identity as a member of Tianyun, Shi Huixin suddenly fell to the ground and covered her face as she cried out in pain. From beginning to end, the crown princess was just as the Mu family's eldest young master had said. She did not even touch Shi Huixin with a single finger, so how could she have poisoned her? Everyone silently glanced at Mu Jingfeng, who was still spouting nonsense just now. At this moment, he had already fallen silent, his expression cold and not saying a word. Aoyi raised his chin slightly, and several youths in black immediately jumped down from the tree and surrounded Mu Jingfeng. Two of them even kicked his knees, as if they were determined to make him kneel and apologize. "What are you all doing?" Mu Jingfeng flew into a rage. The members of the Mu family also started to make a ruckus. Even if Mu Jingfeng had been stripped of his position as the head of the household, he was still the former head of the Mu family. Their Mu family was humiliated like this. No one would be able to feel proud. Naturally, they couldn't just sit by and watch. Mu Qingya even pounced forward and tightly grasped Mu Jingfeng's arm. She turned to look at Qiao Qiao and implored mournfully, "Qiao Qiao, your father didn't mean to say those words just now." "Yeah, he didn't do it on purpose. He did it on purpose. Using every possible method to pin the crime of poisoning my concubine mother onto this crown prince consort. To be slandered by a subject. Does this crown princess have a reason to teach him a lesson?" "Crown princess!" Mu Qingya shrieked and hurriedly stood in front of Mu Jingfeng. "Heaven, earth, sovereign, family, and master are indeed inviolable. But the head of the household is still your biological father. Why, if you insist on going against the law, why you'll be punished by the heavens. I don't want to see you get struck by lightning. It's not worth it." Mu Qingya shook her head vigorously at Arbor with tears in her eyes. Chapter 36-24. Arbor suddenly laughed. Everyone was stunned by this smile. That was because this child rarely smiled. Ever since she returned to the Mu family, she had never smiled at anyone from the Mu family. However, she suddenly laughed today, causing everyone's hair to stand on end. Heavenly punishment? If the heavens truly have a spirit, such a filthy and ugly soul should have died 10,000 times already, no? Her ice-cold voice was like the unmelted snow in the abyss, coldly drenching everyone's hearts. "Let's give it a try. If the heavens come to strike me, I'll endure it. If it doesn't come, ha 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 ha." Arbor laughed out loud with a wanton expression. She raised a small hand slightly, and the crowd of black-clothed youths pressed down on Mu Jingfeng, who was struggling to move his limbs, and dragged him to the side of a tree. After tying this fellow to the tree, Aoyi pulled out a shiny black whip and personally punished him. According to the laws of China, those who slander and defame the imperial family will be whipped 100 times as a warning to others. Smack! A whip as swift as lightning landed heavily on Mu Jingfeng's body. Ah! Mu Jingfeng howled on the spot. His eyes revealed traces of cold light as he glared at Arbor. "You ordered your father to be whipped." Mu Jingfeng's muscles trembled non-stop. He tried his best to pull out a defensive talisman from his inner world, but Aoyi restrained him. "You devoid of conscience, you evil woman. The heavens won't let you off." Mu Jingfeng angrily rebuked. As he spoke, the sky seemed as though it was really going to rain lightning. Dark clouds gathered in the sky, and a faint rumble of thunder could be heard. "The heavens!" Arbor sneered and slowly raised his head to look at the rolling dark clouds in the sky. "Let's see who it will strike." In the blink of an eye, a rolling thunder suddenly fell from the clouds and abruptly landed on the stupefied Mu Jingfeng, causing all the hair on his body to stand on end. Following that, several whips landed, giving him no time to react. "Ah!" Mu Jingfeng could only let out a shrill scream. Arbor laughed heartily as he calmly looked at the man in front of him. His gaze slowly turned cold and resolute. "Mu Jingfeng, now you know. Who does the heavenly Tao want to destroy? It's because of you, the one who disregarded the emperor, the one who obliterated family and humanity, the one who's worse than pigs and dogs. Trash." "Jojo, Jojo, don't, Jojo." Mu Qingya wanted to rush forward, but Song Lu and Nanny Chiu grabbed her arms tightly. Heavens, even with master's cultivation, he was almost unable to withstand the lightning and whips, let alone a defenseless person like Madame. Qiao Mu expressionlessly glanced at Mu Qingya, who was displaying a deeply affectionate expression, and pursed her lips. So what if such an ignorant and cowardly man dies? You can just remarry. What's there to be reluctant about, humph? Everyone stared at her, dumbfounded. He felt that the young lady did not see Mu Jingfeng as her father at all. She did not even see him as a human being. So what if he dies? She even instigated Mu Qingya to remarry? Was this something a daughter should say? Arber swept a glance at everyone before turning to walk out of the crowd. He coldly lowered his head to look at Shi Huixin, who had already turned into a puddle of water, and coldly instructed, "Go search concubine Shi's courtyard. Didn't she say that she left something good for me?" Everyone present looked at the young lady before them with various expressions. Chapter 36-25. This time, all of them once again experienced the little lady's heart as cold as iron. At the same time, they also looked strangely at concubine Shi's pus. In the video just now, concubine Shi admitted that she was a member of Heavenly Fate, but they didn't hear concubine Shi say that she left behind evidence for the crown princess? Could it be that the crown princess was still on guard? The video she showed them was simply only a part of it, and some important information was still missing, so it wasn't exposed in front of people at all? Several elders stood on the side and glanced hesitantly at Arber. At this very moment, no one dared to obstruct Arber's departure. Unless they really wanted to die themselves. By the time Mu Tsong rushed over, Mu Jingfeng had already been whipped 100 times, and 3 thunderbolts fell from the sky, completely knocking Mu Jingfeng out. With lingering fear, everyone couldn't help but sympathize with the previous family head. Because Arber still had things to do, he temporarily returned to the Mu family's residence, Jade Orchid Court. As soon as he entered, his expression completely darkened. Mu Xingchen also said gravely, "Jojo, looks like Heavenly Fate's people were already on guard and made the first move. The poison in concubine Shi's body can actually be remotely controlled? This means..." "It's not poison," Arber interrupted his older brother gravely. "It's a talisman. It's one of the highest standards among sickness talismans and can cause a person to die and rot instantly." A sharp glint flashed through Sir Jojo's eyes. "I know that there's always been a great talisman master in Heavenly Fate. And this talisman master might not just be a talisman master. He's a poison master. These people appeared on Seekong Planet a long time ago. The 3 pygmy brothers all know how to use poison, especially that black cat brother. He once gave Mu Qianqian a soul-swapping talisman. After arriving at Shuntian Prefecture, Clear Sky Faction's disciple Tan Fa was a yellow-ranked talisman master during the entrance exam of a top-notch academy. He and that Fan Gu both belong to Clear Sky Faction. At the same time, they both have transportation talisman matrices. None of them want me to have a good life. All of them want me to live a life worse than death. In the past, I even suspected that Mu Jingrue wanted to deal with me. Now, it seems that the teleportation array might not belong to your Mu family. The Heavenly Fate Empire's foundation is extremely deep. It's not strange that it has a teleportation array. This Grand Charm Master and Poison Master must be closely related to the Black Cat and Tan Fa. During the 6 Prefectures Academy tournament, it was his disciple who poisoned Sha Gua and his group with puppet charms. Although these small fries were dealt with by me and Lotus at that time. However, this Poison Master has always been hiding behind the scenes. Even now, we still don't know who he is. He's been hiding all this time, secretly cultivating batch after batch of talisman talents for Tian Yun. Those charm masters of the Clear Sky sect were also created by him, which means that he has a deep relationship with the Clear Sky sect. Although the Clear Sky sect doesn't belong to the Heavenly Fate Empire, there's bound to be some kind of connection between them. It's just that we don't know about it yet. When Mu Xingchen heard about the Heavenly Fate Empire, he had also heard Emolien mention the ins and outs of the matter. Although he might not be clear about the details, he could still understand the gist of it. This Clear Sky sect was determined to make things difficult for Jojo. Now, it seemed that the Clear Sky sect was indeed closely related to the Heavenly Fate Empire. Chapter 36-26. Perhaps the Clear Sky Sect is a branch of the Heavenly Fate organization. Or perhaps the Clear Sky Sect is a faction controlled by an important member of the Heavenly Fate organization. Xiao Mu turned her head and nodded at her eldest brother. Her eyes flickered as she stared deeply at Mu Xingqian and suddenly changed the topic. Big brother, what evidence do you think Shi Huixin left for us? Do you think we can trust her words? Mu Xingqian's expression didn't change at all. He stared at Aba's bright eyes for less than half a second before answering logically, I think we can trust her. Since she wanted to protect her 2 daughters, of course she wouldn't dare to hide anything from us. After all, Jojo can control the future and life of her 2 daughters, can't he? Aba nodded coldly and sat down with one hand on the table, expressing her complete agreement with her brother's words. Clang! She threw a few pieces of broken jade talismans on the table and looked at them with cold eyes. She muttered, the lightning guiding talisman is quite powerful. Mu Jingfeng, you deserve this. Given Mu Jingfeng's strength, the 3 bolts of lightning would definitely destroy more than half of his meridians. If he wanted to slowly recover, it would take at least a year and a half. Not everyone was like Jojo, able to withstand lightning strikes and be hit by the heavens. Not long after, Aoyi hurried over with a group of people. He cupped his hands at Aba and said, We've found the crown princess. Xiao Mu's face warmed, and she nodded lightly at him. She extended her small hand to accept the crumpled letter Aoyi handed over. After skimming through it, Aba's expression turned serious. She handed the letter to Aoyi. Go and make the arrangements. We must make contact with her tonight. Yes. Aoyi bowed with the letter in his hand. He waved his hand and hurriedly led a group of Purple Forest guards out to make the arrangements. Crown Princess, are you not going back to the Qiao residence tonight? Kai Xiu asked in a low voice. Aba nodded solemnly. Send a message to my mother. I have something important to do tonight. Inside the Golden Garden, Mu Jingfeng sprawled on the brocade couch like a puddle of mud, groaning for quite a while. It was almost 10 o'clock in the evening, and the setting sun shone through the window, making people a little dizzy. Mu Jingfeng reached out to punch the couch as he yelled angrily, Where are they? Where did they all die to? Master. Nanny Chiu hurriedly ran in with the 2 young maidservants. Song Lu was holding a bowl of freshly brewed medicine. Master. Let me do it. Mu Qingya walked in from the door and nodded at Nanny Chiu and the others. You may leave first. Madam. Go down, Mu Qingya ordered. Nanny Chiu and the others looked at each other, then hurriedly put down the medicine bowl and left one by one. Only the groaning Mu Jingfeng and the silent Mu Qingya were left in the room. Water. I want to drink water. Water. Mu Jingfeng turned his head with all his might and glared at his wife. Could it be that his wife was still in shock from what happened earlier? Even her movements were slower than usual, which displeased Mu Jingfeng. Master, the water is here. Mu Qingya brought a bowl of tea to Mu Jingfeng's lips. Mu Jingfeng took a sip from the tea bowl and yelled as he forcefully swatted away Mu Qingya's hand. The teacup fell to the ground with a thud. Chapter 36-27. Mu Jingfeng's sharp reprimand abruptly rang out in the room. Wicked woman! This water is so hot, how can someone drink it? Mu Qingya sighed and got up to pour another cup. She brought it to Mu Jingfeng and carefully blew on it. Old master, it's already cold. Mu Jingfeng leaned over and carefully took a sip. Feeling that there was no problem, he gulped down 2 mouthfuls. This unfilial daughter. Right now, half of his meridians were crippled, and he was paralyzed like a cripple. He didn't even have the slightest bit of strength in his limbs, so how could he not be furious? Old master, it's also because you've overdone it that Qiao Qiao resisted. Mu Qingya sighed. She picked up the medicine bowl at the side and gracefully walked to Mu Jingfeng's side. She half helped him up and leaned him against the couch. Holding a spoon in one hand, she meticulously stirred the medicinal concoction in the bowl with a very focused gaze. However, Mu Jingfeng was dissatisfied with her defending Arbor again. He couldn't help but angrily say, "You've always been protecting her and smoothing things over for her. You've never been this attentive to Rochuan before." Mu Qingya glanced at him and concentrated on stirring the medicinal concoction in her hand. "Old master, I know you're angry. If you didn't say that Jojo poisoned concubine Shi earlier, Jojo wouldn't have ordered you to be whipped because of this. You're still talking." Mu Jingfeng slapped the couch and angrily roared, "Even if I, as her father, wronged her, I didn't do it on purpose. I just didn't understand the situation for a moment. Couldn't she have explained it to me properly? Why did she have to come up and whip me? Is this the attitude a daughter should have toward her father? Drink the medicine." Mu Qingya held the medicine bowl and sat beside him. However, Mu Jingfeng raised half of his body and coldly said, "I'm not drinking it. What's the use of drinking this medicine? It can't heal my meridians, can it? Go invite that god-tier alchemist, Alchemist Dan, over tomorrow. Have her treat me. Alchemist Dan reportedly left the city a while ago and hasn't returned." "What? Then go invite another alchemist over for me. No matter how much it costs, you must heal my messed up meridians as soon as possible. You should drink this medicine first." "I said I won't drink. Take it away." Mu Jingfeng impatiently pushed her hand away. Mu Qingya was holding a bowl of medicine, and when he pushed it, most of the medicine spilled out onto her palm. Although it wasn't very hot, Mu Qingya's face gradually darkened. She suddenly raised her hand and threw the remaining half-bowl of medicine, along with the other bowl, at Mu Jingfeng's face. Mu Jingfeng yelled and waved his hand to wipe the medicine off his face before throwing the bowl on the floor. After the crisp sound, Mu Jingfeng glared at Mu Qingya, his eyes almost spitting fire. B***TCH. Are you trying to rebel? How dare you treat me like this? Are you looking down on me now? Although I've been stripped of my position as the patriarch and half of my meridians have been crippled, I'm still not someone a slut like you can wantonly trample on. Mu Jingfeng, you're always like this. If anything happens, it's someone else's fault. Once something doesn't go your way, you'll immediately adopt this vile attitude. Do you think you're still that high and mighty patriarch, Mu? Do you think you still have a chance to turn things around in this lifetime? Chapter 36-28. I worked so hard to take care of you, yet you don't know how to be grateful and even treat me like this? Mu Jingfeng, you're truly disgusting, Mu Qingya suddenly said expressionlessly. These words were clearly not something the current Mu family head could bear. All these years, what he was most proud of was becoming the Mu family's head and having a beautiful wife in his arms. Even though he was nearing his 40s, he was still elegant and graceful. Which woman would not praise him as a handsome man when they saw him? In this world, there was really no one who would say that he was truly disgusting. Mu Jingfeng stared intently at Mu Qingya in front of him, as if wanting to see a trace of other emotions in her eyes. Unfortunately, there was nothing. Other than a few traces of disdain, indifference, and mockery toward him in her eyes, there was really nothing else. But how could he see these emotions in the eyes of his wife who had been with him for so many years? For a moment, Mu Jingfeng really suspected that he might have gone crazy and was seeing things. Qingya, she had never, ever revealed such emotions toward him. In his heart, Qingya had always been a docile, gentle, and obedient woman. She was very perfect and completely met his requirements for a wife. He did not like women who were too strong. He, Mu Jingfeng, liked women like Qingya who were gentle, tactful, and obedient to him for the rest of their lives. Speaking of which, Long Chuyun's temperament was the complete opposite. She was strong-willed, tenacious, and liked to handle everything alone. She was so strong that he almost felt a kind of pressure. And now, how did his wife, who had always been perfect, suddenly become like this? Was the mockery in her eyes really directed at him, Mu Jingfeng? Qingya. Mu Jingfeng could not help but call out. He forced himself to straighten his body and suppressed the anger in his heart with a perplexed expression. "What's wrong with you?" Mu Qingya seemed to have been provoked to a critical point by him, and all of a sudden, all of her emotions exploded. "I said that you're disgusting. Don't you understand?" Mu Qingya coldly stared at Mu Jingfeng and sternly shouted, "I'm disgusted with you, Mu Jingfeng. I've always been disgusted with you all these years. Ever since the day you ruined my innocence, I've been disgusted with you all the time." Mu Jingfeng's eyes widened in shock as he looked at his wife in disbelief. You. What did you say? Disgusting? His wife, who had been with him for so many years, actually said that she was disgusting to him? On what basis? The slightly distorted face of the woman in front of him had completely overshadowed the gentle look on her face in the past. Gradually, he felt that the person in front of him had become very blurry and unfamiliar. "Who are you? You are not my Qingya." Mu Qingya couldn't help but sneer at him. "I've always been like this." Mu Jingfeng, you've always lived in your own world. You've never truly opened your eyes to clearly see the people around you. You're already in this state, why are you still pretending to be a big shot in front of me? You might be a cripple in the future. Shut up. Mu Jingfeng angrily yelled, smashing a small wooden table beside him with a slap. Mu Qingya's expression changed slightly as she looked at the shattered pieces of the small table. She took a few steps back and coldly said to Mu Jingfeng, "It's all your fault." Chapter 36-29. You vicious and heartless man. Serves you right that even your own daughter treats you this way. When I found out that you were engaged to someone else, I immediately distanced myself from you. I kept my distance from you. But even so, you still refused to let me off. You barged into my court, disregarded my wishes, and took me for your own. You made me bear your children. You made me bear the burden of the entire Mu family and all these trivial matters for so many years. You even made me earn money to support the family and help you take care of your harem of concubines. Why, you all make me feel disgusted. Sometimes, I'm constantly thinking that if I had made a prompt decision back then and left this D*MN family, my life right now wouldn't be like it is now. Mu Jingfeng, do you know how much I hate and disgust you? A person like you is selfish and heartless. You only have your own interests in your eyes. You've lived in your own world all your life. You've never really thought about others. What right do you have to make others sincerely treat you like this? Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Mu Jingfeng screamed in shock, wishing that he could smash the bed into smithereens. B*TCH. B*TCH. Mu Jingfeng struggled to get up from the bed, but his meridians were in a mess, and his limbs were not under his brain's control. The moment he moved, his entire body fell off the bed. He glared at Mu Qingya in front of him and suddenly took out a talisman with a flip of his hand, throwing it in her direction. B*TCH. Do all of you hate that you can't let me die? Fine. Since you don't want me to have an easy time, I'll make all of you not have an easy time either. Following this, Mu Jingfeng threw out a yellow talisman with all his might and shouted, "Activate the talisman." A ferocious attack from the talisman headed for Mu Qingya's chest. Nanny Chiu and the others, who had heard the commotion, hurriedly barged in and cried out in alarm as they rushed forward. Bang! 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 The attack from the talisman knocked them away one by one, and by the time it landed on Mu Qingya's body, its attack power was already more or less depleted. Therefore, she didn't suffer any serious injuries. She only fell to the ground, and her face was pale with fright. B*TCH. Mu Jingfeng angrily reprimanded. He slid to the ground and struggled to get up. Unfortunately, with his current strength, it seemed difficult to do so. Therefore, he crawled forward a few steps, struggled with all his might, and threw himself onto Mu Qingya. The man pinned Mu Qingya under his body and grabbed her neck with both hands. At this moment, Mu Jingfeng's face was flushed red, and his eyeballs were bulging out. It was as if his entire body was being roasted by a raging fire. He gripped Mu Qingya's throat tightly and shouted, "Be asterisk tsich, you be asterisk tsich. You actually said that I'm disgusted." Back then, weren't you the one who would smile gently and call me Brother Jingfeng every time you saw me? And you say you're not interested in me? Now you're saying this again? Saying that I'm disgusting. You're crazy for no reason. Ugh ugh. Mu Qingya's throat was tightly gripped by this man's strong hand. Naturally, she couldn't help but cry out and struggle to breathe. Unfortunately, Mu Qingya didn't have the strength to truss a chicken. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.